Hi, my name is Anjani Siegrist, and today I'm reading the astrology chart for Tupac, one of my favorite all-time people. And just before I start, I want to mention that the time for Tupac's birth is unknown. So you can get a lot of people's times from the internet that have been documented, but his I couldn't find it, and there's no way because both he and his mother are not contactable. So I tried to do a reading last week based off my intuition, getting a time. And last night I had a dream and saw Tupac in the dream, and we were talking and just looking at each other in the eyes, and there wasn't a lot of words talking. It was a lot of communication through showing things, and I actually was shown the time in a very unique and unusual way that I wrote it all out, and it was kind of in a picture, showing me where Chiron and Pluto were, and drawing an arrow to basically at the time that I was shown, and in the dream I saw Chiron, and then it was an arrow showing me how the distance was from Chiron to the rising sign, and it was half, just the way it is here. And the time that I got was 12:58 p.m. His birth time is 16 June 1971. That we know for sure. So there's some things on the chart that just from the date we will know for sure. And from my dream, I'm going to go ahead and read the chart like the time was 12:58 p.m. when he was born. So with all that being said, you can, really take as much as you want. The reason I do these readings for people who we know and love, who are no longer in their physical body, is because they bring something out of us. And us being able to connect in a way that allows us to know more of ourselves. So that's why I like to read these. I did Prince's astrology on the day that he left his body, and it really solved some of my life's questions, and helped me to understand why I felt the way I felt when I watched Prince perform, and my connection with my own father, and parts of myself. So through doing these readings, that's really the intention, is finding that piece for yourself that was relatable, something that you were able to relate to from this artist and from his whole life, the things that we saw, and the words in his music, and interviews that we watched, and the whole thing, the poetry. Oh my God, so much beauty, and really a depth of understanding of some things that don't get talked about, that Tupac brought up. So I always first call in sacred space, which I've done extensively today because I also did a reading for the new moon before this. But for you to call in sacred space, allowing yourself to connect to source energy, breathe in energy, pure, clean, from the source, meaning that you're circulating energy with the earth, with the sky, and moving that through your body. It's a good way to get grounded, get centered. And then I like to call in my higher self, the higher self of Tupac, the energy and essence of what Tupac is made of, was made of, however you like to hold the idea when somebody leaves their body. So here we go. And first thing we look at is the lineage, what this person had as a main skill set. We'll call it Pisces job in the Aries tribe. So the Aries tribe, that's the moon. His moon was definitely in Aries. These are the protectors of the tribe, the warrior energy. Their main intention is to uphold justice, making it right, and not being afraid, being a fierce protector. The specialty we get from the South Node being in the 12th house brings that love and compassion, which he talked about so much. So being a warrior, being a protector with the specialty of unconditional love. And we heard it, we felt that from him. So that's the lineage, and I'm going to go through these a little bit quicker than what I would if it were your reading. If it was your reading, I will do more in depth on each of these parts, but going over it quickly. So from the lineage, we move into the new school. The new school we see by the rising sign and the north node. So for Tupac, he had his rising, and this is not confirmed because the rising, we need the exact time. I'm going to read it like it's confirmed because I saw it in my dream and I feel very solid about this. So let's say we have the ascendant 25 degrees in Virgo right next to Pluto. So we'll call his new school, this is what you're learning about, what he was learning about in the lifetime that we knew him, the Virgo job in the Virgo tribe. So Virgo is the priest. Virgo knows itself through knowing God. Virgo is all about making it sacred. The organization, the step by step. God is in the details for Virgo. So we take all of that energy of Virgo as what he was learning about in that lifetime that we knew him. So think about that, what was he representing to us? He always had the big crosses, and there was a lot of things in his music that we could really feel a connection to the divine. And so then we put Pluto right here. So whatever's in the first house, we're learning about. This first house says, who am I? This is what we're learning about. For Tupac, Pluto was right next to the ascendant, which means that also learning about the Pluto initiations. Pluto initiations are underworldly. They are out of time and space. It is very deep, dark, mysterious. The purpose of Pluto is empowerment through heavy material, through our own. I'm in a Pluto cycle right now, so it's like everything that is scary will come up to be digested and to use as fuel for empowerment. So with Pluto being right there on the rising, it says that was something, having to get through scary, hard things to gain empowerment from it and not be afraid. So we could say that through his mastery of his life, he wasn't going to be scared of anything because he already had the warrior as his lineage. And then coming into life as that sort of sacred, we call Virgo the priest or the priestess because everything they're doing is sacred. But with Pluto there, that adds an extra level of intensity to what he was learning about. From there, let's look at his inner masculine, inner feminine. And I love when I was looking up pictures to put for the main photo for the reading, I saw him with Jada Pinkett. I saw him with Aaliyah. Those were the main two that I was like, oh my God, they really fit his inner feminine. Let's start with the masculine though. So for Tupac, his Mars is right next to the North Node in the sign of Aquarius. And this doesn't change regardless of the time. So this we know that his Mars was in Aquarius with the North Node there. The North Node just shows us a destiny point, what he was going toward. So this shows me that his masculine traits were a major part of his what he was learning about and where he was going. What was the main intention? We call the North Node a lot of times a life intention, your life purpose. We can look at the North Node for that. So when Mars is there in the sign of Aquarius, we can say that he was very innovative, really connected to the upper realms, the celestial realm. Being able, oh my God, the writing, the poetry, the lyrics. I have a really good friend who writes lyrics, and I asked him this question: where do you get this stuff from, you know? And he told me that he would think of a title and then just stream of consciousness, that he would just channel, just writing it, letting it come through. So that's what I think about when I see Mars in the sign of Aquarius next to the North Node. It really is about connecting to the upper realm and letting this stuff come through. So that's Mars. Then we look at his inner feminine, because this is so interesting. Venus for sure was in the sign of Gemini. This we're not guessing about, not based on time. Venus was in Gemini. Then what we do for the inner feminine is that we take what was on the descendant and combine it with his Venus to see what type of the goddess he most wished to connect with. This is his inner lover, his inner other, whatever you want. I say inner lover because to me that's what it is. And for him, having Venus in Gemini means that he was interested in women who were bohemian type of women, an artist, somebody who didn't sleep in the same bed every night because she was on the move. It's a trickster, jovial, fun type of form of the goddess. And he was around those, those women who were in the same industry as him. Then on the descendant is Pisces. So unconditionally loving. Oh my God. Aaliyah, Jada Pinkett, both of these women really, really are expressing that archetype of the feminine that is universally loving and compassionate, and they care about things that are bigger than just themselves. So really, when we're looking at the feminine and masculine for a person, this is Tupac. This is his inner feminine. But what happens is that it's projected in the outer. So we'll see him with women that show us about him. So it's the same thing for you. The type of partner that you pick is basically showing us something about you. So I like to get really mad about my ex, but it's true. He is a reflection of me. And the more that I can accept that, we are in a very interesting dynamic with each other. But it's like that for you in your relationships. It's the same thing. They reflect a part of yourself. So there's the inner feminine, inner masculine. I'm going to move on now to this, the midheaven. This is the contribution to the world, or the way in which this person most wishes to make a contribution to the world. So much stuff in the sign of Gemini. The midheaven is conjunct the sun. We have Mercury and we have Venus in the sign of Gemini. So let's start off first with the midheaven, saying that his contribution is going to be in a way that is fun, bringing, I just see his smile. It's Gemini is in service to spirit through bringing joy, through playfulness, spontaneity. And that laugh, I love that. Just to hear him laugh, it brings me so much joy. So that's his contribution, is through fun, through playfulness. In my dream last night, he was just looking at me and communicating so much through, there was a little bit of talking, which I wrote down what was said, but through those eyes, just feeling complete. It's not that serious. Like, we don't have to take things so serious. It's really fun. It can be really fun. So that's the contribution. Then the sun is right there. 25 degrees is where the midheaven is. The sun is at 24 degrees in Gemini. And the sun is also square to Pluto. Anytime Pluto is involved at a square, at an opposition, a conjunction. I know I'm speaking astrology, but these are the certain things that we count as very important. Pluto is square to his sun, which says that, again, those underworld aspects of empowerment, of having to face your fears. He really had to face his fears. The sun in astrology shines over everything we do. So the sun, I have been saying this for the sun lately. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. We can see from the sun. Definitely his sun was in Gemini. And we can see that, he's very playful, very fun, we can guess what's going to happen next. That's a Gemini trait also. We can guess what's going to happen because it is very, we call Gemini a free electron, the same as Aquarius where his Mars is. We call it a free electron because it is freedom itself. It's on its own, doesn't need somebody, doesn't need, to have committed relationships and long-term anything. It doesn't mean that it won't. It's just that it doesn't need it. And it's actually best on its own. So striking up that feeling of you can do it. You've got this. You can do it on your own. You don't need anybody. I'm not saying that like you don't need anybody. I'm saying that this sun in Gemini has that flair or that style. Mercury is there also, right next to all this stuff near the midheaven, which is obvious. He was communicating his, all these things, this we will call a stellium when three things are together. The midheaven's not a planet, so it's not a true stellium, but all these things are square to Pluto. So he's speaking about those underworld things. He's speaking about the dark, hidden, mysterious things that we don't want to know about. A lot of people makes a lot of people very uncomfortable to hear about, the things that he talked about. It's not a comfortable feeling, but, for myself anyway, working with my phase of knowing every Tupac lyric, listen to it all the time. I mean, it was a good chunk of my life from high school till probably my first year in university, where it was like my world. I love Tupac, So it brought about, I woke up one morning saying, fuck the world. That was a song. That was the lyrics of a song. I woke up one morning saying, fuck the world. It's like that, like nobody wants to really talk about those feelings of complete anger and rage and look at what they're doing to my community and saying that he was sad that he, being born black, like it's scary, we don't want to really talk about those things. But he did. And you can see that Pluto being square to Mercury, that was what's going to happen. He's going to bring that stuff through. And the midheaven is at the top. The top is what, if somebody's walking, let's take you, if you're walking through a crowd, the thing that everybody will notice about you is what the midheaven is. It's like the first thing that's kind of obvious about you without you having to say anything or do anything. And that, having the sun right at the midheaven also is very telling of what he was representing in our community, in our society, in our world, in your life right now also, because there's an effect that goes on, that lives on beyond the body, which I love it. Thank God for that. So that's the midheaven. We can look at the home and roots, seeing what he would need to feel most comfortable at home. We could say that was in Sagittarius. Home and roots, meaning, when you go to bed at night, the most important thing. I also like to call the home and roots the nest you emerge from, or when you fall asleep, the last thing you think of. For Tupac, it was Sagittarius. This would say that expanding consciousness, evolving consciousness. That was what, at the end of the day, that's what was there, that he wants the expansion. He wants to evolve. And just tell me, if you were a Tupac fan, did you not get some evolution of your consciousness from his work? I already know the answer because we all did. If we were in that and we were listening to that, we did evolve. We had some expansion. Okay, so I will stop there. These charts we can read forever. The way that I do these in my work, the first is a 30-minute reading of the four corners. The second one, I would go into all of these angles and all these connections, because this says something about the strategy in which the person was going to meet his life intentions. Life intentions we can see in the first 30 minutes. And then the next 30-minute reading tells about the timings. What phases are you in currently? So I actually did put up here, just because Tupac has come into my awareness heavily at this time, I did this for myself. Um, the date on the outside is for the 24th, so we can see what is being activated for the person. The inside is a map of the sky the moment you were born. The outside ring is a map of the sky for the moment. So there you go. Please leave any comments, anything that you feel like saying. I don't mind. Like the video. Please follow my channel. I really look forward to hearing from you and working with you in the future.